All right, so this is just a conversation piece about cheap mechanics out there. There's always somebody that says, "I know a guy, I have a guy," and then when you look at their car and you go, "Yep, I know exactly why you have that guy because there's duct tape holding vacuum lines together, wire harnesses aren't plugged in, cotter pins missing from the front end parts, nothing's greased, it's pad slapped with seized sliders and bad rotors." So yeah, we see it. The welds look like a pile of bird shit on the exhaust. There's missing exhaust components, missing bolts out of transmission jobs and cross members. I mean, the laundry list goes on and on and on and on. And then, it is what it is. But, in our industry, I hear it all the time. So, is the cheap guy always the guy for you? Well, if he's a good cheap guy, then absolutely. He's like finding, a needle in a haystack. But, how many of those guys are out there? Probably not too many today. And we see it. And then the cheap body shop guy. I can't tell you how much garbage body work we see from the cheap body shop guys. No flex additive in the paint, sand marks everywhere, orange peeled to death, no block sanding, and they know what they can get away with. For the average person whose car is banged up and they don't know what a quality paint and bodywork job is, they have no clue. And I would say probably, I'm not embarrassing anybody, that 90% of the people out there don't know the difference between a high quality body and paint shop versus a low quality paint shop. Unless they've had new cars. If they've had brand new cars, they have a better idea because they're used to looking at it. But even OEM paint shops are not perfect. There was another thing I wanted to say about the cheap guys. Damn, I can't. It was just on the tip of my tongue. But I'm sure there's plenty of technicians out here can tell you that. I'll give you a for instance. Some customers don't know he's the cheap guy because he's disguised in a shop, not necessarily a ghetto shop, but they think they're going in there and they're getting the guy who knows it all working on their car. Not always. So for like me, I don't know at all. I try to. I know as much as I possibly can. But I bounce from bay to bay to bay to bay with all my technicians and installers all day long to make sure that there's nothing overlooked or nothing's missed. So I will give you an example. We picked up a new customer that went to a shop and she paid $1,400 for shocks and struts on her Buick. I don't even know what it was, a newer Buick Lucerne or something like that. And she gets in the car and goes right out the driveway and it's rattling. So she drives it home, then she calls them and complains that, hey, $1,400 worth of work. I still have all these problems. Blah, 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 blah. I check the car out and say, hey, the struts and shocks appear to be installed right. I don't know why they didn't put new sway bar links in the front. This is your problem. You have to take the sway bar links out to do the job. She's like, I'm not going back. I'm just going to have you guys do it. And then the guy was supposedly to give her half her money back. So I don't know how that went. So maybe his cheap guy in his shop, like cheap labor rate guy, you got guys making 50 or 30 or 40 or, 20 or whatever the case may be. And then he's the main mechanic or the owner, who knows. But he didn't do the job and he didn't quality check it. But yeah, I see, because I'm in the wholesale side of what we do. So I get to see a lot of the cheap work that's being done out there. And some of it's complete garbage and out the door it goes. And then some of it's decent. But I'll tell you, when you buy a pre-owned car, you really don't know what you're getting unless you have someone really look at it. And there's levels of cheaper repairs. Like someone commented recently about they don't have anyone in their area that does the exhaust work that we do, meaning they won't cut out components and then weld in new components to the existing components. That is a skill that I've tweaked and became an expert in many years ago. So I kind of know what I can get away with and not get away with. So does that make me the cheap guy? No, that makes me the affordable smart guy. it's good for me and it's great for the customer, or it's good for everybody. So, I feel like, when you need it, when I see a vehicle that has an entire new bolt-on aftermarket system, first I question why this is this way, because in most cases it's never that way. A component has failed and you can just repair it, and every situation's different. So, so I guess I'm considered the cheap guy, but I'm really not the cheap guy. I do high quality work in the aftermarket. And if you compare us to the dealership prices, then yeah, we are the cheap guy, and I'm sure a lot of shops are the cheaper guy. But we're talking about the guy that, they say, hey, go down and see Ray, and he'll rebuild your motor or Tom, he'll rebuild your motor right in the street, and you'll get it back, and it might last a day or two, or you'll get it back with a rod knock or something else. But they're trying to street mechanics, right? The cheap guy in street mechanics. So I guess the street mechanics have evolved into mobile technicians, right? Because that's what happened, right? Some of these guys, are pretty good guys too. They were working on the street instead of and working in their driveway. Working at a shop, and they said, hey, fuck this, I'm gonna just start my own mobile business. And I'm sure there's some scabs out there, but I'm sure there's some good guys. So don't take it personal. You know what I'm talking about.
I technically don't think it's a bad idea. I just don't think that they should be doing certain things in people's driveways.
I don't think mobile paint and dent repair should be spraying chemicals in the atmosphere, but they get away with it.
I agree.
In most communities, you can't repair your vehicle in your driveway, so I don't know how they're getting away with
mobile. Yeah.
Mobile, and is Mobile really a cheap guy? Well, I've seen him come up in some cheap hoopty vehicles.
I don't know, the guy across the street, he was doing I don't know if he was doing brakes or what, but he was all into it. In the truck, the Dodge truck, the new guy, Bert's house.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's a do-it-yourselfer. I mean, that's okay. And there's do-it-yourselfers out there.
Yeah, but it was a truck, and it was all, lopsided, and he was all underneath of it. I was like, oh,
yeah.
my God.
So I guess in our line of business, the pros have a building and licenses, insurance, and lifts, and, all the tools and necessary equipment. And then the street mechanics just have a box of tools. I'm not really sure, but, the cheap guy isn't always the guy. But I'm sure we could talk about this. Thanks for watching.